Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I'll be sharing this easy crochet tutorial for a yo-yo bandana. This project is super simple and straightforward. It only uses one skein of yarn and it would also be perfect as a scrap yarn project. For this project, you'll need one skein of DK weight cotton yarn. I'm using 24/7 cotton DK prints from Lion Brand, which has this beautiful variety of colors throughout the skein and will give us that kind of scrappy look that yo-yos typically have. You'll also need a crochet hook. I'm using a 4mm hook today, but just use whatever hook you need to get your yo-yos to be a similar size as mine. And then the only other things you'll need are a tapestry needle, some scissors, and a couple of stitch markers. Now let's go over the stitches and abbreviations you'll need to know for this pattern. Chain, slip stitch, double crochet, treble crochet, double treble crochet, treble crochet 2 together, stitch or stitches, beginning and round. And don't worry if you don't know how to do some of these stitches because we'll be going over how to do the more complicated ones later. Each yo-yo should measure about 2 inches or 5 centimeters across, and your finished bandana should measure about 11.5 inches or 29 centimeters long, and about 37 inches or 94 centimeters wide. Don't worry about your measurements being super exact because this is a one-size-fits-all bandana that will be tied around your head, so it doesn't matter too much if your measurements end up exactly the same as mine, just get them close. The final thing I wanted to mention before we get into the tutorial is I have a written PDF pattern for this bandana available on both my Etsy shop and my Ko-Fi page. Purchasing the pattern helps me to be able to continue making patterns and tutorials for y'all, so if you'd prefer to follow that, or you'd just like to have it to supplement this video, then you can find the link in the description. Thank you in advance for supporting my work. So with all that, let's get started. So to begin, take your yarn and make a slip knot. Then take your crochet hook and we're going to chain 5. Then once you've chained 5, then slip stitch into the first chain that you made. And now you formed a little ring. Then chain 5 more. And that chain 5 counts as your first double treble crochet. So now we'll do an actual double treble crochet, and to do that you need to yarn over 1, 2, 3 times, and then we'll go in this ring, bring up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So that is a double treble crochet, and you see how that chain 5 is about the same height as the double treble crochet. So this chain 5 counts as our first, and then this double treble crochet counts as our second. So we'll go through again how to make a double treble crochet. So first yarn over 1, 2, 3, then go into the center of your ring, bring up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So for round 1, we need 22 double treble crochets in total, and here we have 3 so far. So we need to make 19 more. And as you're going through making all of your double treble crochet stitches, try to hold the tail of your yarn against this little ring you made and crochet over the tail. So that way you won't have to weave in this tail at the end. So there I have 22 stitches. And now I can pull on this tail a little bit to tighten that center ring. There we go. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this first chain 5. There we go. And that finishes out round 1. Now for round 2, chain 3. That chain 3 counts as the first half of your first treble crochet 2 together. So now we're going to finish out that treble crochet 2 together with a treble crochet. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over, bring through 2, yarn over, bring through 2, yarn over, bring through 2. So this first chain 3 and then this first treble crochet count as your first treble crochet 2 together stitch. So now we'll go through how to do a regular treble crochet 2 together. So to do that, yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And that is your second treble crochet 2 together. Okay, so we can go through that one more time. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And there is your third treble crochet 2 together. So we're going to do that for the whole rest of this round. We're going to keep doing a treble crochet 2 together until we come to the beginning of the round. And we'll need 11 treble crochet 2 togethers in total. So right now we have 3, so we need to do this 8 more times. All right, now we're back at the beginning of this round and we need to slip stitch into this first treble crochet stitch that we made. We're not going to slip stitch into this first chain 3. We're going to slip stitch into the treble crochet that we made after the first chain 3. And now we can chain 1 to fasten off. And you want to leave a pretty long tail on your yo-yo because we're going to sew them all together later. So I'd say leave just about 6 inches maybe, give or take. It doesn't have to be exact. Pull it through and now we can kind of flatten out our yo-yo. Just press it together and there is our first yo-yo. And this is what it should look like on the back. So we can just go in and cut this inner tail away now, actually, unless you didn't crochet over it like I mentioned before. If you did crochet over it, then you can cut it. If you didn't crochet over it, then weave it in and then you can cut the end away. There. But we need to leave this long tail because once we're done making all of our yo-yos, then we're going to sew them all together. So we need to make 32 yo-yos in total. So we've made 1, so we need to make 31 more. So go ahead and make all the rest of your yo-yos and then we can come back and start assembling them. Once you have all 32 of your yo-yos completed, then you can go ahead and line them up in this order. So you should have 9 yo-yos in row 1, 7 in row 2, 7 in row 3, 5 in row 4, 3 in row 5, and 1 in row 6. So the way that we're going to attach these together is we're going to do them horizontally down the rows first. So we'll attach all of the yo-yos in row 1 together in a straight line. Then we'll attach all the yo-yos in row 2 in a straight line, in row 3 in a straight line, and so on. And then once we have all of the lines of yo-yos attached, then we'll go in and attach them all vertically. So we'll attach row 1 to row 2, row 2 to row 3, and so on. So I hope that that's clear. And it's really not that big of a deal what order you connect all of these together. I just think that this makes the most sense. It's the most organized. And to me, it's just the easiest. But as long as they all get sewn together in this shape, you'll be fine. All right, so we're gonna start with this top row here. So I'm gonna move all the rest of these yo-yos out of the way for now. So to join all of these together, all you're gonna need is a darning needle. And we're gonna start with the first 2 yo-yos on this left side of our first row. We're gonna fold number 2 on top of number 1, right sides together. So these are the back sides. The back sides should be facing out. And then take your long tail from the second yo-yo, thread it through a darning needle, and then we're gonna weave this tail through the back of our yo-yo to come out this side here, because when I am finished joining these yo-yos together, I want them to be joined together like this. So we need to join them at this point. That's why I need to weave my tail through to this side. So just weave it through the back. And then I want to have my tail come out on the edge of my yo-yo where the back and the front meet. You kind of see this edge here. I want my tail to come out that side. And then I'll insert my darning needle through the edge of this first yo-yo, just like that. And then I'm just gonna bring it back through, and I'm just gonna tie 1 knot because I feel like that's secure enough for my preference, but if you want to tie a couple knots, then you totally can go for it, but 1 is good enough for me. And we'll weave in these long tails later. I would leave them out for now because when we go to join all of the rows together vertically, you might need some of these long tails to join the other yo-yos together. So I think it's safer to just leave them all out right now because you never know which tail is going to be the most convenient to use for sewing all of the rows together in the next step. All right, now we can grab the third yo-yo, and again you see I'm going to join them together right here at this point. So I'll fold this third yo-yo on top of the second, grab the long tail, and I'll need to weave it through the back a little bit so that it will come out about here, so that it's directly across from the first join that we made. I just eyeball all of this. I don't think it's worthwhile to count each stitch to make sure it's perfectly even. You can just kind of see, you know, there's a join here, draw a straight line across, and, you know, we'll want to join it about here. We want it to come out the side, and then we'll go through and tie a knot. And there we go. Third one in the line. Now we'll grab the fourth one and do the same thing. So gonna want to join it about here, fold the fourth one on top of the third, grab the long tail, and I'm gonna have to weave this tail in all the way over here so it can come out this side, so that again, the joins are in a straight line. And there we go. We have a fourth one in our line. So you're just gonna keep doing that for this row. For row 2, 3, 4, and 5, you're gonna do the same thing. Row 6 obviously only has 1 yo-yo, so you don't need to join that together with any other ones at the moment. And then once you have all of the rows of yo-yos joined together in straight lines, then we'll come back and we'll attach them all together vertically. Okay, I have all of my rows connected together. So we're gonna start with row 1 and row 2, so we can move the other ones out of the way for now. So for row 1, that is your line that has 9 yo-yos, and then row 2 is your first row that has 7 yo-yos. So we are going to attach these together, at these points right here. So to do that, we're going to flip row 1 onto row 2 and make sure it's centered. And now we're just going to go down the line and attach them in the same way that we did on our rows previously. So we can start on this end here. So you can take any of these long tails here on the back of row 1. I'll just grab this one. And now we're just going to do that same thing that we did previously. We're going to weave our long tail through the back of this yo-yo to the point where we want to attach the 2 yo-yos together. So here we have a join and here we have a join, and we want to place our next join in between those 2 joins so that's sort of equidistant from either knot. So that's going to be about here. And again, we can just eyeball it. It really doesn't matter if it's super accurate. So we can weave our tail through the back. And then bring it out the side and tie a knot. All right, there we go. So that is our first join that we made vertically, and you see it's pretty much equidistant between these other 2. So if we call this the west point, this the east point, then this would be the southern point. When it's flipped over like this, I guess you could think of it as the northern point. But you can just think of it like you're drawing a plus sign on this yo-yo, and you want your knots at the end of the plus sign, like that. All right, so we can move on to the next one in the line. Grab one of the long tails and we'll weave it through the back to come out, let's see, about there. And then we can go through both of the yo-yos and we'll tie a knot. And again, you can tie however many knots you want. I just tie 1 because that's good enough for me, but if you want to do 2 or 3, then you can go for it. And then just keep moving down the line and doing that exact same thing. And you can always flip your work over and kind of check to make sure that you like where you're putting your knots. You can always undo them and redo them. So once you've attached row 1 and row 2 together, you see they're all one piece now, then you can grab row 3 and we're going to attach row 3 to row 2. Just like this, in the same points that we did earlier. So we'll take this whole piece that we just made and flip that onto row 3 so that row 2 and row 3 line up. And again, we're just going to go to this side over here and we're going to attach them at that same northern, southern point, whatever you want to call it. So we'll grab one of these long tails, and now it should be a little easier too to see where you need to make the knot because we have this previous knot that we just made. So we can just draw a line with our darning needle from that knot straight up, and okay, so about right there is where we want to weave our tail to. Bring it out this side and attach these 2 yo-yos together with a knot. Just like that. So I think that y'all have got it from here. It's pretty straightforward. finish doing this row, and then that'll all be one piece. And then you'll grab your next row and you'll fold this whole thing on top of this one, sew them all together, grab your next row, fold this whole thing on top of this row, sew those together, and then you'll take your remaining one and you'll fold this whole thing on top of your singular one and sew that one on. So pretty straightforward. You're doing the exact same thing, you're just tying knots and you kind of have your grid pattern set up. So I'm going to continue sewing all of my rows together, and then once I'm finished, we'll come back to do the ties. Okay, I know I said that we were going to move on to the ties next, but I forgot that I like to weave in my ends at this point. If you want to do it at the end after we do the ties, then that's totally fine, but I am going to weave in all of the ends on my project before we move on to the next step. Alright, so I finished weaving in all of my ends, and this is what the back of my bandana looks like. So now we can move on to making the ties. So the ties are going to be located on the outside edges of these two end yo-yos on our first row. So I'm going to start on this yo-yo over here, and you see I'm turning my bandana perpendicular to me because we're going to be working on this outside edge. So make sure you have a couple stitch markers handy. And the first thing we're going to do is mark off 5 stitches that are directly across from this join that we made on these first 2 yo-yos of row 1. So find your join and then just draw a straight line and mark off the 5 stitches that are right across from that knot. Grab your first stitch marker and place it between these stitches on the outside of these 5 that you kind of sectioned off. And then grab your second stitch marker and place it again on the other outside edge of these 5 that you've marked off. Then grab your crochet hook and insert your hook in between the stitches where you placed your first stitch marker. We're not working in the tops of these stitches, we're going to be working in between these stitches. And then grab your yarn and chain 5. And this chain 5 counts as a double treble crochet. Now in between the next 2 stitches, we're going to place a treble crochet. So yarn over twice, insert your hook in between these 2 stitches, and then make your treble crochet. Now in between the next 2 stitches, we're going to place a double crochet. So just yarn over once, insert your hook in between those 2 stitches, and make your double crochet. In between the next 2 stitches, we're going to make another double crochet. In between the next 2 stitches, we're going to make a treble crochet. And then in between the next 2 stitches where you have your second stitch marker, we're going to make a double treble crochet. So yarn over 3 times and then make your double treble crochet. So you should have 6 stitches in total, counting your first chain 5 as your first double treble crochet stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect. And we can go ahead and take these stitch markers out. We won't need them until we start the second tie. So now we'll turn our work, chain 4. This counts as our first treble crochet of this row. And now we'll be working in the tops of the stitches from here on out. It's just for this first setup row that we're working in between the stitches. So now place a treble crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to just place a treble crochet in all of the stitches of this row. So you should have 6 treble crochets in this row in total, with the beginning chain 4 counting as your first treble crochet. And don't forget to place your final treble crochet in the top of that chain 5 that we made in the row below. All right, so make sure that you have 6 stitches, and then we can turn our work and chain 4. That counts as our first treble crochet, and now treble crochet 5 more. Then make sure again that we have 6 stitches and we can turn our work. And we're just going to repeat doing that same thing, chain 4 and then treble crochet 5 more across the row until our strap measures about 8 inches or 20 centimeters in length, or about 2 inches or 5 centimeters shorter than your desired length for your straps. Okay, my tie is about 8 inches long now, so now we're going to start doing the shaping for the end of our tie. So we can turn our work and we'll chain 3. And this chain 3 counts as the first half of our first treble crochet 2 together stitch of this row. So now we're going to make a treble crochet, so yarn over twice, and then insert your hook into the next stitch and make a treble crochet. So this will finish out our treble crochet 2 together stitch. Now treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now you should have 2 stitches left in this row. You should have this next stitch and then the top of the chain 4 that you made in the row before. So we're going to make another treble crochet 2 together so that we can make another decrease in this row. So now you should have 4 stitches in this row. You should have the first treble crochet 2 together that you made, the 2 treble crochets in the middle, and then the last treble crochet 2 together. So then turn your work and we're going to make another decrease right away. So chain 3. That's the first half of your treble crochet 2 together stitch, and then we'll make a treble crochet in the next stitch to finish out that treble crochet 2 together. And then you should have 2 stitches left because this beginning chain 3 in the row before does not count as a stitch because that was the first half of our treble crochet 2 together. So you only have 2 stitches left in this row, and we're going to make another treble crochet 2 together. All right, so you should have 2 stitches in this row. You have your first treble crochet 2 together and then your second treble crochet 2 together. So then turn your work and we're going to make one final decrease. So chain 3. That's the first half of your treble crochet 2 together, and then we'll treble crochet in the next stitch to finish out our decrease. There we go. So now you should have 1 stitch in this row, and it should just be your single decrease that you made. And you can chain 1 to fasten off. And there we have our first tie done. So now you're just going to do that exact same thing on the other side here to make your second tie. You can weave in your remaining ends and you'll be finished. So I'm going to go ahead and make my second tie, weave in my ends, and then come back and show you the finished product. And with our second tie done, our yo-yo bandana is finished. I love how these yo-yo bandanas turn out. They're so bright and colorful and just perfect for spring and summer. Perfect scrap yarn project. They're really quick to make. I think about 1 or 2 sessions of good hard work and you'd finish a whole bandana. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, then remember to leave a like and consider subscribing for more crochet tutorials. I want to give a huge thank you to my channel members. Y'all's support means so much to me, and remember that members have access to an exclusive discount code for my entire Etsy shop. So be sure to use that if you plan on purchasing the pattern. I hope you'll have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!